you can't hide. Talking all that trash, it's got your tongue tied. We king in the window, we'll start till we're finished. You better be ready to throw down. Calling us nameless, I'm missing the papers, and we find our way cause we know how. You get it twisted, we doing our business, they're chanting our names and it's so loud. Better believe it, we can't be defeated, no way. We are the heroes, we're talking legend. Won't back down until our hands are to the heavens. Heroes, we're talking legends. Won't back down until our hands are to the heavens. Can't stop us when we go in. Kings and queens are folding. There's something in our touch. Feel the rush, yeah, we're golden. Sending out a message, leave them in the wreckage. Unbreakable, powerful, forces not to mess with. We keep it a win, we'll get till we're finished. You better be ready to throw down. Calling us famous, I'm losing the papers, and we find our way cause we know how. You get it twisted, we doing our business, they're chanting our names and it's so loud. Better believe it, we can't be defeated, no way. We are the heroes, we're talking legend. Won't back down until our hands are to the heavens. Heroes, we're talking legends. Won't back down until our hands are to the heavens. We are the heroes, we're talking legend. Won't back down until our hands are to the heavens. Heroes, we're talking legends. Won't back down until our hands are to the heavens.
Is it in your head? Are you on the edge? Are you gonna turn your back? Are you gonna run away or stay awake? Will you follow me into the dark? Will you follow me into the dark? If you lose it all, will it fall apart? Will you follow me into the dark? Will you follow me? Will you follow me? There's no turning back. It all fades to black. No trying to pretend we know where the story ends. Don't hold your breath. Will you follow me into the dark? Will you follow me into the dark? If you lose it all, will it fall apart? Will you follow me into the dark? Will you follow me? Follow me, follow me.
I really want this new thing. Wait! Why did you change everything? To make room. But I want the new thing and everything else. I want it to stay the same, but still get the new thing. Getting this requires you to grow to be eligible for it. In your case, you're being held back by all of these things. So I removed the things holding you back. I chose the safest path for you. But now things are too different. I want to go back. You want to go back to how things were? Yes. It's too scary here now. You can have the life that you used to have. You're allowed to settle or stop progressing whenever you want, but you'll relive the same experiences again and again and again until you integrate them. You'll fall back into your old patterns, be around the same people with the same mindsets that you've outgrown, relive the same feelings, feel the same fears, and be held back by the same apprehension forever. You won't grow or expand. Are you sure you want to go backwards? Well, now that you put it that way, no, I'm not. But I don't want to be here either. I'm just uncomfortable. Of course you are. You're in between two chapters of your life. You're releasing a lot in order to make room for bigger and better things. You're still on the right path, even if it feels uncomfortable right now. Just relax. You're exactly where you need to be.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is for you when you get this. Today is August 1st, 2025, and today we are talking about me being done and out of the hospitals. That's where I was last year, getting out of the hospitals. It was quite a journey through the month of July, and that video that was shown, sometimes that you gotta let go, you gotta make room for something new. And we will end up doing a review right in a minute. I am sharing my journey and what I have learned for others to learn and grow. And I am a divine being having a human experience. And this journey has been quite interesting, but it only gets better. And so we're going to review here. In 2001, I had a vision of leaving the Pacific Northwest, and where the sun got really bright. That was it. I was out there. I didn't know what it was about or anything. And then, 9/11 happened, uh, after that summer or whatever. And then the following year in June, I got involved in the Church of Christ. And after I was in there a few years, I met Robert and married him. And we ended up having our two children. And in 2020, I really started waking up to the world and my life and the religion in the church. And in 2021, the end there, I ended up leaving my former husband, Robert, who was a dictating narcissist. And then 13 months later, he ended up having a stroke and passed away. That was in January of 2023. And then on 9/11/23, I had major surgery. And I had received a message earlier that summer where I was reviewing for this relationship I was supposed to be in. And a couple months after this relationship, I was connected with a young man in Nigeria who was 23 years old. And 3 days before his 24th birthday, he dropped me. And then I ended up taking down his fake Facebook account the end of May of 2024. And I really was seeing who I was, which was somebody who was sent in to, teach some people lessons and stuff. And I was sent to teach Ronald a lesson about jerking off with women online and trying to use them for marriage visas. And I after I that all happened, I started getting messages, and I got this message on Facebook where I made this video about the chosen ones and creating unity and peace. And then on June 25th, I ran into a woman, Cece, who I hadn't seen in years. And that's when I was like, I need to get out of here. I've been, hiding in the dark with these people, teaching people lessons here in this area, the Pacific Northwest. And, I was going to be serving my purpose of telling my story and things. So I just got this. It was time to get out of there. And I got out of there. I left Washington State and I ended up in Minnesota where all of a sudden the police showed up on me and the person's house that I went to, they all said that none of them had called the police on me. So that's when I separated with my children, leaving my children there to protect them, and went on my own way, where I ended up in Illinois, where I had people following me. Some guy that I seen in back in Minnesota showed up in the front of this store, and I ended up in the hospital. And that's when I checked in to the hospital. I made a police report and everything about being followed and this Nigerian thing going on. And so that's kind of where we left off the last video of my story here from 2024. And so when I decided to check in to the hospital there, they pretty much take everything from you, including your clothes and your phone, everything, and jewelry, all of it. And so, when I got upstairs and started, talking to the people there, they're acting like I'm crazy about these people following me and stuff. And I just was just at this state of like, I don't even know what is real anymore. All these conspiracies and things like this. And so I ended up, getting some rest. I was, surveillanced in the room and in the hallways and all that. I ended up, they ended up showing me fairly right away, um, rec room, and I started meeting some of the other people that were in there. I met a young man, Joshua, who I, made a good connection with there, and another woman named Shannon that I made a connection with as well. And I was very hesitant of doing meds. Like I refused to take any of their medication. But then I came to a breaking point because they were never going to let me out of there unless I took the medication. That's just how that game works. So I started taking the medication. And, they started having regular blood draws as well. I'm not sure if that was to see if the medication was in my system or what, but they were doing regular blood draws. And I ended up being moved to a different room and stuff. And eventually I got a roommate, a very nice uh, young woman, a mother, and her and I connected a little bit as well. She was just in a very, distraught state and but I, felt that I was there for her a little bit. She was kind of in the state of even not being able to really function too greatly. But, I made the best of my situation there and started working on me. I started doing positives. I was exercising. I've for years done this walking video where you do all these other movements, and I was able to just do that in the mornings and stuff. And I started reading. They had a little library of books, and I started reading some books and stuff where I actually came to realize that I needed freaking reading eyeglasses. And I guess, it was just time. And I started, doing word finds and other activities like games and puzzles and stuff, connecting with the people that were there. And they had televisions in every single room. And pretty much my entire time there, I refused to really have the television on for me. I did watch a little something with the roommate or whatever, and she watched a little bit of TV in there, but I really, just had this thing of not really watching too much television. But in the rec room in the morning where I was exercising and stuff, this man would come in and drink coffee and watch these morning shows. So I was really starting to see this Joe Biden clown show going on that I hadn't really been watching. I mean, it was just so ridiculous how the Democrats are begging the guy not to even run again. And it's just a freaking clown show going on. And so I was seeing this thing, and just, having the television on and stuff more that I wasn't quite used to. And, if I had my chance, I would turn it on to their music channel and listen to music instead, which I found some actually kind of interesting songs. One song called that was by something duck something, but anyhow, it's the Barbara Streisand song. It was very interesting, and that's all it said in the song, Barbara Streisand. So it was comical. And then some of the people started leaving. Shannon left pretty right away, within a few days of me being there. And then Joshua ended up leaving, and some of the others ended up leaving, and there were some new people that came in, and I made connections with them. I really, talked to this man, encouraging him to really look inside himself and love himself. And, he was kind of focused on outside things from himself. But I, it was very ironic because there was just one morning I could not sleep, and it was super early, and I got up and I asked if they would let me go in the rec room because it was locked and stuff. They really, didn't open it until about 6 a.m., but they ended up unlocking it and let me go in there because I just could not sleep for some reason. And it was very funny because this man, he ended up and was just kind of in this state and ended up in there. And I really came to feel that I had been awake because he needed someone at that time. And I just helped encourage him and uplift him through his situation that he was in. And as far as, my life went and things, I had left my children with Ernestine back in Minnesota, my former husband's sister. And, she had put my kids in state custody. I had found that out when I checked in. And so it came about that she was unable to handle my children. And my children ended up being flown back to Washington State to be with my parents. And while this happened, I learned that Ernestine and her family had lied to me and that they did call the police on me. In fact, I know which one it was. It was Ernestine's daughter who called the police on me. And then all three of these women, Ernestine, her daughter, and her granddaughter, all stood there and told me that none of them called the police. And there wasn't a soul that knew I left Washington State. And they just showed up on me. It's very interesting how when you learn about the game of life and learn who God is, and God will let you know what's going on. God will let you know the truth, and spirit guides are real. And I found out the truth. And it's very interesting because I kind of knew. I knew because, see, when I went into my little panic state and was leaving my children there because I felt that I was being followed and people were after me, that woman, Ernestine's daughter, she sat there at the table just completely distraught, which she should have been. Might have been different if they had told me the truth, but then again, things play out the way they play out for a reason. So we forgive and let that go. And so, so then after finding this out and stuff, I was talking to the doctor about it, about the fact that Ernestine and her family had lied to me and had called the police on me. And the doctor ended up telling me that when someone lies to you, that it can glitch your mind up. And I know that that's what happened. They put me in a delusion. And then I had people following me. That questions reality a little bit, don't you think? And we also talked about the religious traumas. That religious trauma is very real. And the stuff that I was put through with the religious people within the Church of Christ, with Robert and the elders trying to keep me in a abusive situation, and Dick the preacher man. And so we ended up talking a bit about this religious trauma and that she sees it all the time. It's very real. And I ended up also writing a letter to my family, trying to open up and tell them who I was and things. And, I had conversations with my family a little bit and with my daughter and stuff as well. And, as I was there and I'm looking out the window at these cornfields, which is completely different than Washington State. Washington State has the Rocky Mountains there, the mountains, Mount Rainier. It was just very different. And I'm looking out the window at these cornfields, and I just had this intuitive um, feeling and stuff that for some reason I was just exactly where I was meant to be for some reason. I just didn't know what it was, but it was very interesting just looking out at the cornfields that were out there, and there was a even an airport, like a small airport thing that was kind of across the highway out the window and stuff. And for 4th of July, because I was there for the 4th of July, they did a fireworks show that I watched and stuff. And this hospital and stuff, this where I was staying, this facility, it was very interesting that I was able to order the food that I wanted from a menu from the hospital, and I tried to eat the healthiest I could, eating salad and vegetables and protein, and some cheese and stuff like that, eggs for breakfast and things like that. So I really try to eat the healthiest that I possibly could. They did do like a snack time where you could get drinks, pop, and I did kind of let the guy make me like a mocha thing where it was like with hot chocolate and things, and it was kind of rewarding a little bit than just your typical coffee. And they did have options of fruit and stuff, but there was crackers and things like that, the pudding, and so you got these regular like snack times as well. And then there was a man who came, and I connected with this man a little bit, and it would turn out that his baby's mama was named Alicia, spelled exactly the way my name is spelled. Now, my name is spelled differently than the average Alicia's name. Alicia usually is spelled Alicia, but my name is spelled Alisha. And I truly have never really met anyone with my name spelled that way. And here, this man, his baby's mama was named Alicia, spelt the same exact way. And it was kind of interesting. And then we had this game night. And we were playing game. I was playing games with some of the people there. And so we had this game night with a few of the people that I had connected with. One was that man whose baby's mama was Alicia, and then my roommate, and there was one other person, I believe. But I tell you what, I think it was the man that I had helped. We had It was one of the funnest nights I had ever had in my life, just playing cards with this group. We were totally enjoying our time. In fact, we got in trouble because we were enjoying ourselves so much and being a little loud, laughing and things, and just enjoying each other's company. I mean, it was just like a group of friends playing cards together. It was just one of the best times I had ever had. And um and so we were playing Skippo. And so we really enjoyed that. We kind of got in trouble and warnings because we were being so loud that we needed to quiet it down and stuff. Some of the other people were kind of complaining about it. And so then, as I go on during this time, that I ended up having to get things kind of straightened out with my kids and things and what was going to happen, which the state of Washington ended up saying that I did the right thing with leaving my kids with somebody. And so, to take care of, during this, episode thing that I went through. And so they really had no real reason to withhold my children from me. So we go, through talking about what the plan was for my children and stuff. And so they're back in Washington State with my family. And so I was like, well, I really was very strong about that I wasn't meant to be in Washington State, that there was a reason and I was not meant to be there. And so I was just like, I will go back and get my kids, but I'm not staying in Washington State. But the state of Washington decided that they didn't want me to do that and that they would fly my kids to Illinois for me. And Shannon, the woman that I had made a connection with, she had told me that she had a house and she had 3 rooms and that she could help me and let me stay there. And so I, made the arrangements and stuff to go to Shannon's house when I got out. In fact, I believe the hospital, because there was a caseworker there, even talked with Shannon about me, coming to her house and stuff. And so I ended up getting out. I was in there for like 11 days. I think I got in there Saturday, which was the end of June. And so it was like the week after the 4th, I got out, which was like Tuesday or Wednesday. So I was in there like 10, 11 days. I got out, I'm on medication. They diagnosed me as having bipolar. And so I end up getting out. And when I got out, I went to Walmart to get a few things that I felt that I needed, and have an oil change done too. After, I needed that done after the drive I took, and I was due for an oil change, and I got that oil change done. And then I called Joshua because him and I had really connected, and he had talked about taking me to this place, that we should go and eat at this place. And so, I called him and I'm like, I got out and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, come get me. And so I went and got him. And so he's, telling me where to go to this place. We're going to go get some food at this place that he's been telling me about. And so we go to this place. It's the same freaking place. The store that the people were following me at. They had a Hardee's on the side of it. And it was the same freaking place. I'm like, this is the same place. Of all the places in the world, out of all the places over there, we end up at the same freaking gas station place where I had these people who are following me show up there. And so, we got something to eat and stuff, and I was kind of, it was very interesting. And, him and I were talking about things, and, I shared with him, like, this is the place that I was being followed to, and stuff, right? And so, when I was driving back to drop him off and stuff, he did share with me that, he thought that maybe I was just delusional about the whole situation of being followed and stuff. And so, who knows? I mean, it seemed real to me. But, you know, so I dropped him off and then I went to Shannon's place. And Shannon's place was very, very interesting. I've been to some very interesting places in my lifetime. And, she did have 3 rooms upstairs that, could have worked. Her place was quite a mess. and stuff. And so I was trying to help her during this time before my kids came and stuff to kind of get things in order and stuff there. And there were, some men down the road that had been helping her with things around her house. She needed her shower fixed. In fact, we went to a campsite around there so we could shower. And the toilet didn't work. It definitely wasn't an ideal place. And then, she had some issues of wanting me there where she would message me and say, well, maybe you should leave. Maybe I need to do this on my own and things like that. And so she kind of, was doing this back and forth thing a little bit with me, and so then I also started getting spirit guided messages about a few things, even, this woman that Shannon that I was with and stuff, and also about my parents, the grandparents of my children, in fact, and about them doing something with my children, saying something to my children. And the thing I really thought about was that my family has a way of trying to keep you down here. And I knew, my son had some issues and things, but there's a way of, treating someone that they're not worthy or high quality, you know, highly important or anything like that, they're just, you know, kind of stupid, kind of don't make the right decisions and things like that. And that's truly, what I had thought of, they have good in them. They do have good and they've helped me and they're kind people. But, so I was just kind of thinking like, maybe there was a reason I wasn't supposed to be in Washington State. Who knows? But, I started really, getting things in order, for my kids coming, trying to, clean up this place a little bit for my kids to come. And, I had to do a video call. The lady wanted to make sure there was running water there and things like that. And I did a video of this place, even though it wasn't quite ideal and things. And then, so, the arrangement was them to come back. And I think it was Monday, come to be flown to Illinois on Monday. It was like around the 15th or something of July there last year. And so then on the Sunday, I had been doing a little bit of like Uber eating and door dashing. And there were a couple little areas that I could go to do that around there. Where Shannon was at, it was very country and excluded kind of place. But there were a couple little cities that were just a little ways away that I could go and do DoorDash and Uber Eats. And I was doing that to make some money. And Shannon went with me the Sunday just before my kids were coming. And so I really had kind of been still having a little bit of this paranoia that I was being followed a little bit. I wasn't quite sure. And I'm just kind of watching, and like, am I creating this, kind of thing, right? And her and I were out Uber eating and door dashing together. She came with me. I just really like had this feeling like I am being followed still, and I seen some people, I seen some stuff, and I'm just kind of like, am I the one creating this, But Shannon ended up saying to me that she felt like someone was following us too. And so it was very interesting, and I wasn't quite sure. And then we got this one delivery, and we went and delivered it. And one of the cars that I had seen, like it was like down a dead end road. And we were, coming out back through. And here I see the same car that I had seen over by where we had gotten the food and the delivery that I was kind of suspicious of, following me. And so we ended up kind of going to a different area to DoorDash and Uber Eats. And, I just kind of let it go and, tried to feel better about it, that, maybe it was just me. Maybe it was my energy. Maybe I was creating it. I don't know. And so then I ended up waking up the next morning, that Monday, when my kids were coming, super early. I could not sleep. And I just was like, I need to get the hell out of here. So I was like, let's go back to Washington State, see if we could salvage anything or whatever, And And so I packed up everything, packed up my car. I let her know that I was leaving because it was very early. I left out of there probably about 6 o'clock in the morning. And that was the Illinois time. So Washington State was about 4. And I started driving back towards Washington State. And, I sent my mom a message and stuff. And so after some time, I wasn't getting a response back and stuff. And I talked to my daughter and stuff and let her know. And, my mom's kind of like flipping a little bit because I was deciding to come back. And, I'm wanting to see if she'd hang on to the kids for a little longer to, to, for me to get there and things like that. But, I ended up getting a spirit guided message that my family was done with me and not to go back. And so I decided not to go back. And so wherever I was, I decided to go back to Chicago. And when the caseworker from Washington State called me and stuff, I just was like, just send me my kids, I'll figure it out. That I would get a room or whatever, and that I would get it figured out. I had somebody who I had also made a connection with that I called about staying at their place with my kids, at least for that night. And so I, kind of did some door dashing there, or Uber Eats, there in Chicago and things like that. While I just had this feeling upon me, it was just something upon me. And, so then it came time to go to the airport. I went to the airport. I haven't been in an airport since like 1999. Seriously. I had not been in the airport since 1999, and it was very different. They have you go through this whole body scan thing and stuff, and so I got over to the waiting area, and I waited over there for probably like an hour or so before the plane showed up, and the plane finally showed up, and reconnected with my kids, reunited, and I got my kids. We're going to take a little break. We're going to play a couple messages and play a very fitting song.
I do know it's a fine line between a spiritual awakening and a spiritual crisis, right? Spiritual crisis is what a lot of people like to call spiritual psychosis. And I tell y'all, I've been seeing so many videos talking about this as of lately. Let me just say this. I'm not staying on the surface level with this one. I know we about to go deep. If you ain't ready for all that, keep scrolling. A lot of people not losing their mind. They just waking up. Problem is the world around them cannot handle that shit. Somebody starts setting boundaries and pulling back from their family. Stop entertaining drama. They start talking about illusions and energy. Baby, don't let them start talking about ancestors. For sure gonna be labeled with some kind of psychosis, even though I'm trying to figure out what was Jesus. That's the only ancestor we know. Got it. When you start talking about those things, people get real uncomfortable. They don't understand it, so they start labeling it, talking about, she acting strange. Her elevator ain't going all the way to the top. Is that person really breaking down, or are they breaking free? We gotta talk about why we seeing this more now than ever. Yeah, I know we've entered the age of Aquarius, which is the age of knowing, not believing. Not obeying, but knowing. The sun is shifting and the solar flares activating DNA and RNA. Divine feminine is rising. This is the year of completion. Cycles are closing. Timelines are collapsing. Oh, and the illusions are being exposed. Of course people are waking up. Of course it's intense. A lot of people not crazy. They just breaking the spells that been passed down from generation to generation. Hold up. We gotta really talk about what it looks like when you really truly going through a spiritual crisis. Sometimes that veil lift a little too fast. It's like your soul got dropped into a world you was never prepared for. It's literally when everything start crumbling. Government, religion, family roles. Like all that shit hit you at one time. Now, you stuck between worlds. I'm talking physical and spiritual. You not fully in the physical and you not fully in the spiritual. You just really out here floating. Start hearing messages, but you can't decipher which ones are divine. You can't tell which ones are trauma. See signs in everything, animals, dreams, numbers, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Y'all know that. When it comes to a point where it's not clarity anymore, it turns into anxiety. I'm talking about excessive anxiety. That's when we know you got another problem on your hands. You're not grounded, your system is going to start to short circuit. You get to the point where you stop eating, you stop sleeping. I'm talking about excessively, y'all. The point where you stop functioning. That's not really awakening, that's spiritual overload. This is what I like to call being stuck in the in-between. You are not who you were. The problem is you don't know who you're becoming yet. Space is sacred, but it's dangerous if you don't know how to ground. You don't know how to transmute energy. You don't know how to alchemize. Too much light too fast will blind you. You start interpreting everything through fear. You go through that phase where you think you're the only one with truth. Your mind, spirit done told you to isolate, cut everybody off, ascend by yourself. That's not divine clarity though. That's your nervous system begging for grounding. This is why we need both spirit and support. You want to get out in nature, move around. Also listen to your body, learn your rhythm and flow. Learn when you need to rest. Learn when you need to fuel your body. This could be through nourishment or grounding, like I said. When you plant your feet in that ground, when you hug them trees, you get nourishment in a whole nother way. Go sit with Source, aka the sun, the true source of life. You feel like you at your breaking point, you need you a spiritual guide. You need to understand when a message is a download and when it's just unprocessed pain in a spiritual outfit. Now, everybody pulling away from their family is in crisis. Some people really just done pretending for real. Done performing, done being spiritually suffocated by people who refuse to grow. We gotta stop calling people crazy just because they choosing peace over performance. Spiritual psychosis even exists if we wasn't indoctrinated and put under a spell in the first place. Or are we just remembering who we really are? Clarity feels like chaos when the world is built on lies. Most of the time you're not crazy, you're remembering. Just don't forget to stay grounded while you ride. You gotta learn how to maneuver both worlds. Life is about duality, about balance. If you don't learn how to balance the two, that's when it starts looking like a spiritual crisis. Make sure y'all get in them comments and let me know your thoughts. As always, peace, love, and light, and gratitude for watching. I do know
I'm gonna say this, a lot of people don't like this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. To anyone who's being diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, ADHD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, any of those, I have a secret for you. I was diagnosed with every single one of those when I thought I was going crazy, but in actuality I was having a spiritual awakening that was leading me to my gifts. So they were all feeling like curses until I recognized they were gifts. So for multiple personality disorder, I can channel spirits now. Like I do messages and readings, and I'm psychic, and I see into the future. Sometimes I have dreams that tell me about what's going to happen, or family members or people come through to me, and I do messages for others. I help them heal through the messages that I receive from the galactic, from all these different places. With the ADHD, that's attuned to ADD, attuned to different dimensions. Okay, the bipolar depression and all that stuff happened because I was tuning into so many energies and not knowing how to block out the lower vibrational frequencies, which I can still tune into them today, but they don't affect me the same way because I understand that there are energies that are trying to communicate with me, trying to let their family members know that they're, I love you, I miss you, and they're still kind of trapped here on earth because you don't believe in spirit, and that's why you keep thinking you have a mental illness and a disease. You don't. You have a gift. You're not sick, you're gifted. And when these psychologists, psychiatrists start to tell people these spiritual laws and start to understand that, there will be a lot less people, children, growing up thinking that they're sick when they're actually really gifted. That's the thing. And I had to discover that on my own. Now, mind you, I went to every doctor, every hospital before I'm coming here and saying this to you. I didn't just, I'm spiritually awake. I went through all of that. Every doctor, every hospital. I went to mental hospitals. None of it helped. I went through addiction, all of it. None of it helped. I tried to self-medicate just like everyone else does because they don't know what's going on with them. When you start to tune into your own vibrational frequency and understanding that there's spirit and energy all around you, you will understand how to tune some of it out and tune into the others. You are not sick, you are gifted. And I'm telling you this because you go on your journey, go to your psychiatrist, do what you got to do. Try the medications, do it all. When that doesn't work, come back home to us because we need you. You are a light worker. You are a chosen one. When a shaman sees that someone in the village is going crazy, the head shaman, he says, bring me that future shaman. Listen again. He doesn't call them crazy. He says, bring me that future shaman, because he knows that that person's going through an awakening and they're going through an initiation to become healers. So you're not sick. You're just gifted. Someone just needs to tell you that. Pass this message along right now. It's urgent. I love you. Bye.
Turn out the lights, my friend. I know I'm on the edge. The thing about it is, my head keeps spinning round and round, round, round. I must give in. I'm about to lose control.
Yes, going through a spiritual awakening is not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure. And lose control. I tell you what, if God had been like, this is the way your journey is going to go, I would have definitely been like, let me try something else. But, you know, I went down the journey that I was meant to go on and had to lose all control to do so. So it's okay. And so, I'm there at the airport in Chicago, Illinois with my children. And we were going to drive to this person's house to stay the night there. And that drive was going to be about 3 hours. They were about 3 hours away from Chicago there. But there was something going on that I had never experienced before. And that was that there was a tornado going on. so, um, so people had to be away from the windows and things like that. And I just didn't. I'd never gone through anything like this. So I'm like, it's probably best to stay where we were. And so we ended up, in this hallway kind of safe zone area, and stayed in there for about an hour, which it was like, so that put us like at 10 p.m. So we're looking at getting to this person's place at 1 in the morning. And so we ended up deciding, my daughter and I, to just go ahead and drive through and just start heading to the North Carolina, South Carolina area. She was still wanting to meet her boyfriend, and she had said that his grandpa is willing to like help us out and stuff, and this kind of thing. So we decided to just drive and not go to the person's house there in Illinois and just go out to the North Carolina, South Carolina area. And so we did, we're driving and things, and I'm just like, I was really feeling something upon me. I was feeling this pressure right in here. I didn't know what was going on and stuff. And so it came about that I ended up deciding on this journey to check into a hotel. I think that was so that I got my kids back Monday, and we left the airport like 10 p.m. And so we drove and drove, we went through, like wherever we went through, Illinois. And we were in Kentucky there Wednesday evening, or Wednesday. And we decided to check into a hotel. I really felt I needed the rest and stuff. And we checked into this hotel, and I did talk to my daughter's boyfriend's grandpa, and he was in agreement to let us stay at his place and help us out and stuff, kind of thing. And I just had this something, it was just something upon me and stuff. I couldn't freaking sleep. I couldn't rest. I had a very hard time resting and sleeping and stuff. The hotel had a pool. My son, he really enjoyed that time swimming and playing in the pool and things. And then, the next morning and stuff, there were some freaking Africans there, which kind of made me a little paranoid about this whole African thing going down, with, taking down Ronald's account. And, and things. And, I still kind of, feeling this being paranoid still, kind of thing. And so, we ended up, getting our stuff and, got out of there and things, and started heading to the North Carolina, South Carolina area to meet my daughter's boyfriend and things like that, go there. So we ended up there and things, and it was just kind of like, and somehow or another, the grandpa, he decided to put us in a hotel. So we ended up being put into a hotel. He didn't want us to actually stay at his house and things. And so we ended up in a hotel, and I ended up waking up in the middle of the night, and I'm still feeling this paranoia. There's just something I couldn't figure out what was going on within me and stuff. And I was just like, I got to go back to the hospital. I have to go back to the hospital. And I knew I had no one to take care of my kids, that I was going to have to put them in state care. And I went to the emergency room. I was feeling even suicidal. I didn't know what to do, very hopeless and things like that. And so so they got me in there and things, and DSS ended up showing up, and, it was just this whole process. I was very much that, I wanted my children to be protected and things like that. And, I'm, feeling this paranoia about people following me and stuff. I made another police report when I was in there. The police came in, they talked with me, they made a police report and stuff. I didn't know if, there was something going on and I'm being followed and things and all these things. And so I, got checked in. I was being watched while I was in the emergency room because of the suicidal kind of ideation things. My kids, I signed my kids over to the state, and my kids were taken out of there. And that was, the darkest time of my whole life. My kids were the only things I've ever wanted. And I ended up upstairs in the mental, unit or whatever. And I just went through this extremely dark time. And I got very quiet in there. Things were a lot different there than they were at the hospital in Illinois. It was definitely not as nice as the hospital in Illinois. And you didn't get to order your own food. It was very more institutionalized. The only furniture that they even had there, and which they had only one room, that was the dining room and like the rec room or whatever. So it's just basic, like, chairs. It was very more institutionalized, like I said. And they brought food. You didn't get to choose food. They just brought food for everyone, the same stuff. And, people would trade food a little bit, without, before touching it, kind of thing. Even though we weren't really supposed to do that. People were still doing it. And there was a big big thing with tea. Welcome to the South, you know? It's just like, are you going to drink your tea? I mean, people would take your tea, you know? And so, you know, I wasn't a big tea drinker. I drink it sometimes, but then, you know, there was someone who would always like to have the tea. And so I would, you know, give my tea to them and stuff. And so the tea was a big thing. It was much different. And, you know, they had some activities there. It was very limited. You would have to ask for games. They had them locked up. There would be some like word cross things and things like that. They did have movies. They would have the TV on at 6 o'clock in the morning with the news, which is very negative. I was just very interested that, you know, they play such negative things. And some of the movies that were watched, I just had to walk away and could not watch them because they were so filled with violence and stuff. You know, a mental place, and they allow that kind of stuff. And I even found a game that had all these negative things put on it that, like, you know, I'm no good, and you know, all these negative things. And I'm like, and I asked to take those little messages off of them because um you know, they should be working to help you be more positive. And there was something else at this hospital. That was roaches. Man, they had some big ass roaches. We had one while they were doing a activity kind of thing with us, self-improvement kind of activity. They would do these things. And this big freaking roach just comes right up, and they stomped on it and got rid of it. I was told to take care of one that was in the hallway one morning when I was walking. But yeah, they had roaches at the hotel, at the hospital. Imagine. But you know, while I was there, there was a girl who I met, and she did numbers with your name. And she did both my married name and my maiden name. And it was kind of interesting because they were both eights. So I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of interesting. They were both eights, you know. I didn't think a lot about it, you know. I didn't do a lot of number things, so you know, I don't know. But you know, I go in with the doctor and stuff, and they, you know, got me on some medication, again on Abilify. I was put on that in Illinois and stuff. And so they put me on that and some other meds and stuff. And, you know, we were talking about things with the doctor and stuff. And, you know, one of the things we talked about was these religious men who protected an abuser instead of protecting me and my children. They protected the abuser. And, you know, we also talked about the whole Nigerian thing, you know, and this doctor, he ended up putting that into perspective for me. Like, you know, why would they spend all this money to follow and chase me, you know? And that just kind of helped put things in perspective for me, you know, with that, you know? And, you know, they kind of upped my meds and stuff, you know. They were messing with it and they increased it a little bit. I went from like 10 milligrams up to 20 milligrams of Abilify and stuff. So they increased my medication a bit, you know. And, you know, so then, you know, there was my kids. They're in state custody, and I was to have no contact with them, could not call my daughter or anything. And, I talked to my family a little bit, admitted to having a mental breakdown and stuff, And my mom was a little harsh on me, a little bit, She tried to be even keeled with me too. And I wrote them a letter about, working on our relationships and things. And, then there ended up being this girl in there, this young woman. And, I was writing my book about my life story. And at this point, I'm just like, I don't know about this book thing, and I kind of talked about it, but she ended up telling me, you should write the book, you should write the book. And so I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of thinking about it, and stuff. And I don't know about that book thing. And then there was the fact that her ex-girlfriend, her name was Alisha, spelt the same way as my name was spelt. Sometimes in life, for me, there's just these synchronicities that happen that are just like, for whatever reason, you're right where you're meant to be. And that was one of them. And, so I, ended up going through and, there were kind of like these two doctors coming in. There was a male doctor and a female doctor, and the male doctor had up my medication and stuff. And then the female doctor came back in and stuff. And, I was telling her some of these things that were happening to me and stuff. And she felt that, for one, I was being over medicated. And number two was that I had some side effects going on from Abilify. So she put me on a medication that would help me with the side effects from the Abilify. Plus, I had had some issues with high blood pressure that came about in Illinois. I have, always really kept my blood pressure pretty well. I did have some blood pressure issues when I had my pregnancies, but usually my blood pressure was pretty good, but in Illinois it was high. So I had been put on medication. That's why there I worked on eating healthy, because I know that you can combat it by eating healthier and stuff. And so they put me on this medication to combat the side effects of Abilify, and it would also help me with my blood pressure. And, also in there, I learned that my potassium levels were down. I had to have a potassium pill given to me, but then, that went up and fixed itself. There was still, these regular blood draws happening and things like that. But, I was feeling something was wrong. I just couldn't figure it out. And I'm just feeling like I could hardly function and take care of myself. I didn't want to shower right. And I was really stinking too. Like, this medication just reeked off of me, and I just stunk. And they would check my blood pressure and my vitals, and they'd say, "Oh, you're fine. No, just lay down and rest." It was about the only thing I could do. I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't sit. I couldn't walk. I tried to do these things. About the only thing I could do was just lay there and rest. I didn't know what to do with myself. And we, got things set up for me to go into a shelter. in the area. The hospital helped me with that. And just, you know, I had gotten things, you know, a little bit straight with my kids. You know, they were going to be in there. I needed to work on myself. You know, I was going to be by myself, you know, and, you know, one of the dark things that I went through was that I knew that I wasn't going to get my kids back as easily as I had when I was in Illinois. And that was really hard for me. And, you know, I'm, you know, feeling these feelings like something's wrong with me. I couldn't figure out what it was. And things like that. I was feeling like I could hardly function. I felt these jitteries. I didn't know what to do with myself and things, you know. But I go into the doctor and she was like, "Are you ready to get out of here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to get out of here. I don't know what the hell's gonna happen, but you know, I'm ready to get out." I tell you what, if they knew how I had felt, they should have never let my ass out of there. Because I didn't know what was going to happen. I felt so vulnerable. But, you know, they got me all situated to get out. I spent 2 weeks in there, exactly 2 weeks. And on August 1st, I was walked out. Thursday, August 1st. I got walked out by one of the nurses out to where my car was. And this woman, you know, she said something to me about, you know, that she was impressed that I was going to stay there in this state and do what I needed to do to get my kids back. Like, why wouldn't I do that? Seriously. Why wouldn't I stay and get my kids back? Seriously. So we're going to take a break and play a couple messages and a song and come back and ask some questions and answer a few questions that we have and do a conclusion.
The only way out is in. You got to lose your mind to get it. That's part of the truth. If you scared of losing your mind, you ain't never going to find yourself. The crazy people got the answers. Stop letting people convince you that your gifts are disabilities. Baby, that ain't no disability. You can hear voices because you can hear the fifth dimension. Stop letting people talk you out of your gifts. You need to be grounded in your gifts so they don't make you go crazy. You're not crazy. You can make yourself go crazy because you keep taking on what other people telling you. Oh, she crazy. Oh, she hallucinating. Oh, she do. No, baby, that's your gift. And if you don't hone it in and you don't take it seriously and you don't nurture yourself, you will feel like you are going crazy. Is having ADHD a gift? Yes, it is. You have hyper awareness that you are not able to focus in on because you are seeing and feeling too many things at one time. Autism is a gift. Bipolar disorder is a gift. Somebody said, are you sure? Yes, only if you're whole and healed, right? A gift can feel like a curse. If you were told that you have eternal life, that you do not die, some people will make that a hell. When their whole life, what they've been afraid of is death. And then the moment that they learn they can't die, all of a sudden they're afraid to live forever. They start making it a prison. That's because you're not grounded within yourself. When you're talking about bipolar, you're talking about mania. You are talking about someone who is experiencing split auras within their vessel, right? Almost like being double-minded or double-spirited. You have immense creativity within you because you're able to exist within two diverging frequencies at one time. That's like crazy powerful. When you are not grounded within self-love, you will look crazy to people because you're receiving contradictory downloads in a single vessel at one time. You don't make sense to people. When you love yourself and it's grounded and rooted in something healthy, like a routine, right? Taking care of your body, nurturing yourself, speaking love over yourself, having healthy rituals. This is the balance being, right? And you're able to project your gifts to be used for your benefit, right? But when you don't love yourself, right? And you're taking all of this is what it does in the body. So you're having those super, super highs and those super, super lows, but it's a gift. All you have to do is invest within.
All right, y'all. So here's something else they don't tell you about spiritual awakening. No one tells you that you're going to have to experience dark night of the soul and ego deaths. And these are two of the most excruciatingly painful things that you will ever go through. And these are necessary because God, source, the universe, uses these experiences to purge you from your old identity, your old belief systems, your old comfort zones, to move you to the new place in your life that you're going to be. So dark night of the soul looks like this. It looks like crisis in your life. Your life is just plunged into crisis. Your sense of stability is gone. It could look like loss of job, loss of income, loss of housing, loss of health, loss of family, friends. Everything that brought you comfort before is no longer there. And since this is spiritually sourced, there's nothing you can naturally do to stop it. And you try everything. You try to fix things, make things right, but all doors are closed to you because this is happening from a spiritual place. And so I want you to imagine the feeling of that. That is excruciatingly painful. It is terrifying. You start to lose your mental health. You think you're crazy and no one can help you. And as if that is not enough, but wait, there's more. You got an ego death coming. And you know what that looks like? Any identity that you have held on to is going to dissolve. Whoever you thought you were, whatever your belief systems were, your occupation, your personality, what you think about yourself, whoever you identify as is going to dissolve. And that's another excruciating process. But all of this serves a divine purpose because in order for you to truly connect with God, you have to dissolve who you are. You have to dissolve your belief systems, your religious belief systems, the societal and cultural programming that you have. All of that has to go. And so the process of the dark night of the soul and ego death is the burning away of all of that so that you can connect directly to God. And that only happens once you surrender to those two processes. The hardest thing to do is surrender and allow yourself to fall to the bottom. But when you allow yourself to fall to the bottom, that's when you go to the top. That is the cheat code for ego death and the dark night of the soul. Surrender to it. Once you surrender to it, then your connection becomes very, very clear. Your signal becomes clear directly to God. Once your signal and connection to God becomes clear, everything changes from you. You walk in gratitude, you walk in peace, you walk in true love. You see the world differently because you have a lot of people that have awakened and say, oh, I've awakened and this world is horrible and I hate people now, so I'm just going to go into seclusion. And I say to those people, you haven't had your dark night of the soul moment yet. You haven't had your ego death yet. Because think of how much ego it takes to say the world is horrible, except for me. Think about that. Your ego death is going to show you that you are horrible too. You have stuff too. It's going to show you that. And then after that process, you will not look at the world. You won't look at people the same way. You won't want to exit the world. You actually want to stay here and help the world. Because then that's when you start gaining a level of Christ consciousness. So if you think about how Jesus was when he walked the earth, he loved on people that the world said didn't deserve love. The lepers, people that were sick, women who were caught in adultery, the woman at the well, all of the people that the world said did not deserve love, those are people that Jesus loved on because he saw the world through God's eyes. Far too many people are religious and awakened individuals don't see the world through God's eyes. And that's why they're still able to harm other people while claiming God. The point of your dark night of the soul and your ego death is for you to see the world as God sees it. And when you see the world that way, your language changes from, oh, I hate this place and I hate people, to, yes, I see that this world is dense. How can I use my gifts to make it better? How can I become a light that shines in a dark world? How can I love on people? So then you start to use your specific gifts to love on people the way that Jesus loved on people, the way that Buddha loved on people, and all of the other awakened individuals. So I don't wish the dark night of the soul or ego deaths on anyone, but whoever it's meant to happen to, it's going to happen to. I want to say to you, stay strong during that process, but that ain't it. It's actually surrender. Surrender, fall to the bottom, because when you get to the bottom, that's when you find everything that you need to rise to the top. Top meaning higher level of consciousness, Christ consciousness. So don't give up on yourself. I know it hurts. It's a part of the process. Keep going. You're going to get through it.
Underneath it all, in the shadow of a doubt, your secrets bring you down. And now, can you break the fall and get up the will to start? Hope can fall apart. And now, underneath it all, there's a monolithic wave, all the wreckage that remains unbroken, unhinged, words unspoken, silenced. No one knows you there. No one knows your name. No one loves you now. No one feels the same. Underneath it all, with the whispers closing in, too late for your defense. And now, underneath it all, in the weight of all your thoughts, are you stranded? Are you lost? No one knows you there. No one knows your name. No one loves you now. No one feels the same.
Underneath it all, losing my mind, having a darkness of the soul and ego death, spiritual awakening. It's not for the faint, and some people will never see it. They'll never go through it. They'll never face themselves. And facing yourself and who the world has made you into being, instead of the divine being that God would truly have you to be. Now that's a spiritual awakening. And losing my mind to gain a new one from all the bullshit that I was brought into and that I experienced on this journey. And facing the fact that it was me too, you know, that I wasn't that person that I wanted to be, and that I, you know, had done some stuff. And as far as my family went, I contacted my mom several times before leaving out of there and let her know I was getting out, and left it at that. She stopped taking my phone calls or anything like that. And I'm going to read this. This is from Breaking the Habit of Being You, Losing Your Mind to Gain a New One. And this here, I found that, you know, made a lot of sense to me. Changing our relationships, breaking the ties that bind. Most relationships are based on what you have in common with others. Think about this. You meet a person and immediately the two of you compare your experiences as if you both are checking to see whether your neural networks and emotional memories are aligned. You say something like this: I know these people, I am from this place, and I lived in these places at these different times in my life. I went to this school and I studied this subject. I own and do these things, and most importantly, I've had these experiences. Then the other person responds, I know these people, I've lived in those places during those times. I do these things too, and I had those same experiences. Thus, you can relate to each other. A relationship is then formed based on neurochemical states of being, because if you share the same experiences, you share the same emotions. Think of emotions as energy in motion. If you share the same emotions, you share the same energy. And just like two atoms of energy that share an invisible field of energy beyond space and time in order to bond together in a relationship to form air, you are bonded in an invisible field of energy to everything, person and place in your external life. Bonds between people are the strongest, though, because emotions hold the strongest energy. As long as either party doesn't change, things will be just fine. So when our friend in the example in the last section begins to tell the truth about how she really feels, things begin to get very uncomfortable. If her friendships have been based upon complaining about life, then she is bonded energetically in relationships by the emotions of victimization. If in a moment of enlightenment, she now decides to break from the habit of being herself, so she is no longer showing up as that familiar person to whom everyone could relate, people in her life are using her to remind themselves of who they are emotionally as well. Friends and family respond, "What's wrong with you today? You've hurt my feelings," which translates to, "I thought we had a good thing going here. I used you to reaffirm my emotional addiction in order to remember who I think I am as a somebody. I liked you better the other way." When it comes to change, our energy is connected to everything that we've had to an experience with in our outer world. When we break the addiction of emotion we've memorized, or when we tell the truth about who we really are, doing that takes some real energy, just as it takes energy to separate two atoms of oxygen that are bonded together. It takes energy to break the bonds with the people in our lives. So the individual individuals in this person's life who have shared the same emotional bond with her rally together and say, she hasn't been herself lately. Maybe she's lost her mind. Let's get her to a doctor. Now, remember that they have been people she shared the same experience with. Hence, they shared the same emotions. But now she's breaking the energetic bonds with everyone and everything and even every place familiar. This is a threatening moment for everyone who has been playing the same game with her for years. She's getting off the train. So they bring her to the doctor, who gives her Prozac or some other drugs. And in a short time, the person's familiar personality returns, and there she is, projecting her old image to the world, right back to shaking hands on others' emotional agreements. Once more, she's numb and smiling. Anything to take the feeling away. The lesson goes unlearned. Yes, the person wasn't being herself, not the top hand self that everyone had grown accustomed to. Instead, briefly, she was the bottom hand self, the one who with the past and the pain. And who can blame those loved ones who insisted on the return of her former numbed self that went along to get along? That new self emerged as an unpredictable, even radical. Who wants to be around that person? Who wants to be around the truth? That was very, very fitting for me. Very fitting, extremely fitting. And it rings truth for me that I had unvictimized myself. And I was ready to share that truth. But people who are in that emotional bond, they're not ready to face themselves or face the truth. Face the fact that they're a divine being as well. But I, came to that point to face that. So I'm going to ask some questions here, and I got a couple questions to answer from my Leaving Washington State video. So let's ask some questions here. Why don't the doctors ask about lifestyle, like the food that I was eating or other things? And why did I end up at the same place being followed with Joshua? And what will happen to Ernestine for lying to me? And what will happen with my family? And was I meant to be where I was meant to be? Did I create the being followed scenario? Does the number 8 mean something? And what will happen? What will happen? Stay along on this journey, and it's very interesting, some of the things that happened. I will tell you that. And my questions to be answered about the police being called on me. So let's get this straight for a moment. Get this straight for a moment. I went to Ernestine's house. I told her my truth, which it was against the whole victimizing, mentality. And her family called the police on me. And then they lied to me about calling the police on me, and Ernestine put my kids in state custody. Makes for an interesting story, doesn't it? It's a little bit like this. I'm going to share this because it's kind of like this.
All day in paradise, folks, but don't forget to buckle up out there in Radio Land. Remember, good driver, good. And a safe driver. Good. Driver, good driver, good.
Wait for the cue, background, wait for the cue. Stand by one. Countdown to action. Stand by, everyone. One. He's heading west on Stewart. Stand by all extras. Gloria, he'll be on you in about 90 seconds. Pops, make sure the coffee's hot. Okay, he's making his turn on the Lancaster Square. Oh my God, he nearly hit balance. Something's wrong. Change frequencies.
Ouch. Sorry about that, folks. I guess we picked up a police frequency or something. It sometimes happens, and it can drive you crazy. Okay, it's classical Clive back in here, and we've still got some great music up ahead, but hey, we have to buckle up. Remember safety. Good driver's a safe driver. Safe driver is what? Yes.
Oh, yes. The baby's still. Oh, I see it. I love that idea.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I love
Bueno, señorita, hasta luego. Las noticias son muy importantes. Ya lo sé, por eso que no tienes dinero para...
Can I help? Oh, yeah, I have an appointment at Gable Enterprise. They went bust.
What's happening? Nothing. Just tell me what's happening.
Rosa, we're remodeling.
No, you're not. What are those people doing?
It's none of our business. It's none of your business.
You don't tell me what's happening, I'll report you!
Well, you're not.
Truman, what are you doing here?
I gotta talk to you.
It's a bad time, okay? I'm way behind.
I'm onto something, Marlon. Something big.
You okay? You look like shit.
I think I'm mixed up in something.
Mixed up in what?
There's no point trying to explain it, but a lot of strange things have been happening. I mean, the people on the elevator, there was no backing on it. I looked out, there was people there, and on the radio, on the way to work, start to, like, follow me along, talking about everything that I'm doing. You know what I mean?
No, Truman, look, this is one of your fantasies.
I think this is about my dad.
Your dad?
I think he's alive. Yeah. I'll tell you about it later. I'm definitely being followed.
Who?
It's hard to tell. They look just like regular people.
How about those two?
I don't know. Could be. It's when I'm unpredictable. They can't, you know. Anything happen?
No.
Mm-hmm. We gotta get out of here. You ready to go?
No, I just can't.
Come on.
I told you I can't. You're gonna get both their asses fired, you know that.
Okay, then, let's do it.
What?
Whatever you say, I'm game.
What? What are you talking about?
Yes, sirree. Your birthday comes but once a year.
I think that was a very fitting little thing. Like, what's wrong with you, Alisha? Having people follow you and track you, and you need some help. Yeah, we'll find out what kind of help I got. And, answer to the question of, the police and the FBI, that I, made a police report in Illinois and had told Robert's daughter to call the FBI. And, I made a police report when I was in the hospital here in the North South Carolina area, and about them following up, and they never followed up. Never. Yes. Corrupt government. And, being listened to and watched through your television and your phone. And, all the scandalous stuff with, 9/11 and, the voting and, the satanic Satanist ordeal of things, children missing, children being sacrificed, and all kinds of nasty things there. All kinds of different things. And I lost my mind. Oh, there's COVID too. It all makes for some very interesting stories and purposes for sure. Hmm. The rest of this year will be a very interesting journey to take with me as I, talk about some of the things that I learned and looked at and stuff by everything I went through. But, I have, truly came to knowing why I was everywhere I was. I know why I ended up in Minnesota with Ernestine and her family. I even know why I separated and left my kids there. I know why they were flown back to Washington State. And I know why I was in that particular hospital in Illinois. And the connection that I made with Joshua and the place that we ended up going to eat, the little store. I know exactly why I ended up there with him and stuff. I know exactly why I ended up at Shannon's house as well. I know why I didn't go to that person's house to stay there as well and just continued on to the North and South Carolina area. I know why I felt the way that I was feeling. I know why we ended up at my daughter's boyfriend's house as well. And I know why I ended up in the hospital and why I had to separate with my children. It's all spiritual. And sometimes, and definitely that time, that I spiritually, on the spiritual level, had made the choice to go alone for some time. And it was all spiritual. And some of the feelings that I was feeling was just the moves in my life that I had to make, that I had to make some big moves to get me to another level. And it's part of my purpose. And going through a true spiritual awakening with waking up to the BS from the world system that includes government, education, financial, Hollywood, sports, on and on. Religion. And some people are going through it, and some people don't know the answers. And I can only hope that I will give some people some of those answers through my journey and my experiences that I went through. And through the journey, I got some answers about, some of the things about the world and for me and things like that. And even some very interesting information for about my family and my bloodline that I come from, which in, the bigger picture of it and me sharing my journey and things that I've gone through here, that even if my family doesn't want to pay attention to it or want the information, that it can help other people to maybe see something as well. And, truly, facing myself, having that dark night of the soul and ego death, that I didn't like who I was being. I had been emotionally and reactively abused for a very long time, and even doing some of that to my own children. And that's just, how it ends up being. It's just an emotional type trauma bonding type deal. And we had to go through it. I had to go through it because I put a lot of work into myself. It wasn't a time that I took to dick around with my life. And I poured the energy into myself to learn to love myself and to set some healthy boundaries and to find my inner happiness and my inner peace. But, putting my kids in DSS, state custody, that was a very, very dark time for me. But I wasn't being the best mother for them. And I know that, through the spiritual awakening that I went through, I mean, if we can go back even to 2020 and stuff, and I was involved in the church and the religion, and, I was emotionally and reactively abusing my children. And, just had us, I was part of having them trapped in religion, and I broke free from the religion and things and the old type world system, and looked at the conspiracies and stuff for time there. But, I came to this one point, and I truly believe it is because of my purpose and the journey that I took to serve here is that I had to detach from everything. And I got that message before going on Facebook and saying I was done with the church, which was the day before Memorial Day in 2023. And during that summer, as I evaluated my life, evaluated this man that I was looking for, because that's when I got the message about the relationship thing, and prepared for that major surgery on 9/11. And that was the mark that helped me to, start waking up and coming out of, the dark. And I really was changing at that time. I really started to see like that movement happening in my life, kind of like that Truman Show thing, And truly with Ronald, I really threw all those attachments out on him and attached to him. And then it just came about that it was just time to let go of it all, let go of all the crap that I had gone through and been through, because I really had been evaluating things and seeing, why I came into the situation that I was brought into with my parents, and why I had gone through what I had gone through with my step grandfather Cal, and on and on. And so I really came to see all those things. And the thing is that with people who are stuck in those victimized trauma bonding type ordeals, and people even do it with religion, they even do it with the government and the political crap. And so I that when you try to break free from that stuff, people try to hold you in, and it's nothing truly personal. They just don't know any better. And I had been going through something, an awakening to myself and to, reality, and many realities, really. And, as I gone through the journey of being separated from my children, which has had its challenges for sure, but I feel successful in the challenges, and that I've very much have learned and grown so much. And I even got a spirit guided message that said thousands of years spiritually. And as I looked at things and evaluated things, there was a woman who lived a long, long time ago. And this thing happened a long, long time ago, way before my lifetime. Way before my lifetime. many, many years before my lifetime. And this woman was in an abusive relationship, and she had a couple of kids. And back then, women didn't have rights to the children. And she had to choose herself, and she had to save herself. And that's what she did. She abandoned those two children with that abusive man because she had to choose herself and get out of it. And I spent some time thinking a little bit about that woman and what she must have gone through doing that. You know, to save yourself, you know, from, you know, that situation or whatever. I can only think that it was probably one of the toughest things that she ever did, but she had to choose herself and get out of it. And as I've gone through this journey, being separated from my children and looking at that I truly came to a point that I would rather spend a little bit of time away from my children to get some new perspective of things and pour into myself and be the person that not only I want to be, but who God would want me to be. Raising up to that Christ consciousness, you know, being like Christ, working on mastering myself and the things that God has given me to have control over. Emotionally supporting myself because nobody else has ever done it. And if I can't emotionally support myself, I can't emotionally support anybody else, including my children. Which means by me going through what I've gone through and coming to where I can emotionally support myself, that I will be better to be able to support my children emotionally. And, you know, just pouring into myself, which I have done. And when I started, I got led to the podcasting the very end of last year, which I will eventually share that story and stuff, that I was in a great place. I really was. You know, I really had, you know, put a lot of work and effort into myself at that point, and I was in a great place. And today, I'm in an even better place, a much better place, because I really came through to see why I had gone through everything I had gone through and been to all these places that I had been, what I gained, because life is all about learning and growing so that we can end up teaching and helping others. And that's the purpose I am serving. And, being where my happiness is not based upon having my children, having a man in my life, no one, no place, no thing that is going to truly make me happy. It is going to be me. I have to find that happiness within myself. And, even letting go of the fact that I'm not going to be the one to make my children happy. They have to find that happiness within themselves as well. But by finding that, I can help them. I can try to teach them those lessons, because it's not any person, place, or thing that's going to find that happiness or find that peace or the love. It all is within. And finding that balance of stability, because the world and all the chaos and all the bullshit has made me completely unstable, and it looks like it's made a ton of other people unstable as well. But I've really come through to gain that balancing, that grounding, that within my nervous system. And, being in a reactive abusive relationship where all of a sudden someone's going off the hinges, and it just does something to your nervous system. And you keep on going through it. And I was born into that stuff. And so I'm at a great place, finding that balance within myself, and, really empowering myself and speaking my truth. And clearing my throat chakra, which has been closed for a couple of lifetimes. And, I went through something this week I have really been working on, surrendering to my life and, going with the flow of life, not expecting anything, and these things, just, figuring out like, why would I go through this? Why would I, spiritually make this decision to go through what I'm going through? And, I had something this week that I had to get through a little bit of, going through that flow of life. Sometimes we don't get what we want, but it serves a purpose. And then I got this little thing that came to me, because there has been something I have wanted to do for a very, very, very long time. A very long time. It's that one bucket list thing. There's not a lot of things that I've, really been like, I want this, I want to do this, I want to go this place or whatever. There's not a lot of those things. And I did get a trip years ago to New York, which was the only place I truly wanted to go to. And I got that trip. That was part of my evaluation of seeing how I did get that and how I got it and stuff. And I didn't appreciate it like I should have. But I was like, this thing that I've wanted to do for a very long time, that I even shared with my guy friend 2 years ago when I was preparing for that major surgery. And he had said, well, it sounds like you should do that. But I didn't do it. I didn't do it, even though, the surgery was, pretty major and stuff. And I do feel it was like that life and death kind of like situation. I still didn't do it. And I've just really come through this spiritual awakening journey of letting go, being fearless, being unlimited, stop putting the limitations on myself. And this one thing that I have truly wanted to do all this time, is, I've really come through even accepting myself for where I'm at and who I am now. And that includes my body. And that is like the one thing that truly held me back from experiencing this one thing that I truly wanted to experience. And so the other day it just popped up on me that I should do that. For some reason, earlier in the week, I had come to taking this day off, and I knew I was doing this podcast and stuff. So I requested the day off, and then I had this thing pop in my head. You should do that. And it was like, there's no better time to do it. Why don't you do it, today, the Friday, right? And so I looked it up and found what I wanted and made the arrangements to do this one thing that I have truly wanted to do. And, sometimes when we make a decision that is for ourselves, maybe it has even like a little bit of a financial cost to it, or whatever, that, well, like, should I, you question yourself on it sometimes, but I really had to go through that. I have worked very hard on myself and my life, and I deserved it. And I truly did deserve it. I did deserve it. And it's very funny because when you start watching the signs of things in your life and the synchronicities and the things that when you truly connect with God and just see how God works in your life through all kinds of different things in all kinds of ways, that I have this affirmations app on my phone, and it will send me several messages a day. In fact, it's expired and it still sends me tons of messages a day. But on Wednesday, the very, very day that I decided to do this one thing that I have wanted to do before I leave this earth, I only got one freaking message off of that thing that day. The day before that, the day before, I got several. Yesterday, got several. But I went on there and looked at it because I look at it every night. I look at all of them, and I looked at it that night, Wednesday night, and it had only one message on there. And this is what the message said. I balance making money with relaxing and enjoying life. That is like total confirmation. And, truly coming through that my happiness is not contingent on having my children with me. Life is all about learning and growing. And once we do that, we can teach and help others. And, my children had some learning lessons that they had to go through. Some that I would have never made the decisions on. I never would have, but sometimes we have to go through those learning lessons. And I can only hope that by me sharing my journey and sharing my story and my experiences will help them and help others as well. And, just being able to see why do I need to go through this, and having those growing experiences that maybe my children will learn them before they have their own families. Or maybe there's somebody who will see it, who will have those growing lessons before having a family and their own children, so that you can truly enjoy life. I mean, it's ours. It's ours to enjoy. And some people are so miserable. It's sad. It's truly sad. And the things that we listen to and the things that we watch that affect us like that. But some people will never learn those lessons and they'll never see it. And so truly, I'm at this place that I've spent this majority of this last year truly being alone and, being quiet, more quiet and stuff. And really working on myself, that if people only knew where I was spiritually and within myself, they would want it. They would want it if they only knew. But life's getting easier. And life is fun. And that experience that I went through today was totally worth it. It was totally worth the money I paid for it. And I had plenty of money to be able to do it. It was a great time for it. And I enjoyed it being alone. Not just in a physical sense, but right here. right here. Right here. I did think about my kids a little bit, that it'd be fun to do with them one day. And maybe that day will come. But if I had to do it by myself again, I would. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I deserved it. I truly did deserve it. You couldn't imagine every single day and the weeks that I have made stride after stride after stride to help myself to be better and do more for me. And by doing that, it will help my children. So this is my truth, sharing my journey, my experiences, and what I know and how I've grown. And I am truly grateful for this beautiful life and this beautiful world and being alive. One of the things I didn't mention in there was that when I went through that dark time, I begged God to take my life every day there for a couple days. Then I wake up and if I only knew where I would have ended up, it would have been totally different. And that's why looking at life differently, that there's a purpose for everything. And I'm grateful for changing my lenses a couple of times, quite a few times, on my perspective of things. My next show for this series is going to be on September 10th, getting a job. And we'll talk about what happened from that time that I got out of the hospital up until September 10th when I got a job. And I am working on doing one for sin, soul, and God. What is it? What is sin exactly? And what is our soul? And what exactly is God? And I am offering help to anyone who wants to work on healing from their traumas, as I have gained this introspective gift and, religious traumas that I've worked on healing from, narcissistic abuse even, and these things that if you are starting the path of healing, or if you're on it and you want some help, want some insights on things that I am offering, that you can contact me through my email that I leave in the bio, or message me on Facebook through Messenger. And so I ask that you like, share, and subscribe and donate if you can. And I will leave the links in the bio for my Facebook accounts. I'm under Alisha Broman Quinn, and I have a group, Our Greatness. And leave my email bio in there. I'm on Rumble, and I have 2 channels on YouTube. And I'm on True Social too. So I've been sharing my videos on there. And I'm on TikTok a little bit doing I've done a couple of videos, and I'm gonna probably be doing one like weekly or something. And just to, for where my growth is at, because, there's people on so many different levels And, that's part of the game of life here, is that there are people just on so many different levels that, if you're on a level down here and you think I'm here, well, there are people up here. And, there's just always room for growth. That's truly what there is. When you start working on yourself, that there's always truly going to the next level of growth and raising up your consciousness for sure. And that's what I've truly learned, that some of the things that I need to let go of and, stop doing, and some of the things I'm in the process of doing that I'm just like, I'm working on it. But, it just is, there's always room for growth when you work on yourself. And so enjoy your day and your life, sending love, peace, and healing. And I'm going to end with a video and a song that's so fitting, because sometimes, and the song is very fitting, that I did choose spiritually, and it had to play out in the physical. I did choose to go down this journey here alone, but I'm not alone forever with it. So, love you all.
I saw this quote the other day. It's been on my mind for a while now. It said, "True growth is when you're tired of your own shit." And that hit hard. You can literally feel when it is time to move into the next chapter of your life. And the thing is, your new life is going to cost you your old life. You ready to make that trade? Not everyone gets it. Because it's going to cost you your comfort zone and your sense of direction. It's going to cost you friendships and relationships. It's going to cost you being liked and understood. But none of that matters. Because those that are meant for you, they're going to meet you on the other side. And you're going to build a new comfort zone around all the things that move you forward. And instead of being liked, you're going to be loved. Instead of being understood, you're going to be seen. And all you are going to lose is what you built for a person you no longer are.
When you commit to a path, I guess you were on your own. Follow your dreams to a place, a space, the grace that takes you home. You don't have to tell me once or twice, wonder why we're here. We just gotta stop the flood before we lose it all and drown from fear. But let me tell you, I'm ready to fly. I've survived through rainstorms, sandstorms, I fought the war, now it's time to go home. Let me tell you, I'm ready to fly. Walk me through the hills. Wait until the sun shines upon us as we cross the haunted hills. Pick me up off of the desert. Feed me water. Walk me through the hills. Wait until the sun shines upon us as we cross the haunted hills. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. It's time to go home. No chains at our feet, like a fire we're burning free, blazing a trail, no roads. We're gonna follow that golden soul. Something is pulling us out to the edge. They tell us not to, but we take a stand. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Nobody's fool, nobody's fool. Yeah, we're playing like we can't lose. Born to be the outlaws, no stopping us, no stopping us, no stopping us. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Tear down, leave a mark. We're done hiding in the dark, like a riot inside. We lit the fuse, it's a matter of time. Something is pulling us out to the edge. They tell us not to, they always forget. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Nobody's fool, nobody's fool. Yeah, we're playing like we can't lose. Born to be the outlaws, no stopping us, no stopping us, no stopping us. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. We take control. We steal the show. We take control. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Yeah, we do just what we want to. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Nobody's fool, nobody's fool. Yeah, we're playing like we can't lose. Born to be the outlaws, no stopping us, no stopping us, no stopping us. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Nobody's fool, nobody's fool. Yeah, we're playing like we can't lose. Born to be the outlaws, no stopping us, no stopping us, no stopping us. We break the rules, we break the rules. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Yeah, we do just what we want to. Yeah, we do just what we want to.